You know, when we left the country, I mean, Hamas ended up taking my passport, held that for 8 or 9 days, which is a trippy feeling. You're kind of in Gaza with no passport. I'm a Palestinian now. And when we left, they interrogated us for 5 hours trying to find out how we got into the country. Their interrogation consisted of tea and biscuits and nice conversations, and when they figured out that we couldn't tell them how we got into the country, they provided a driver to get me back to Cairo safely. This is the terrorist organisation of Hamas, right? That's my experience with them. They were amazing. It was incredible. And I started to realise just how much rubbish and how much disinformation is presented around Gaza. And what they're saying there, this is a war. It's not a war. It takes 2 armies to have a war. And what I saw in Gaza was a form of warehousing and surplusing human beings. And I said then, if we do not heal this is the greatest moral dilemma we face in the world today. And if we do not face ourselves enough to heal this problem, then the way of Gaza will be the way of the world. And you look what's happened through COVID, the depopulation, different strokes for different folks. They can't just go in and bomb everybody into oblivion the way they've done in Gaza, but they can kill us in other ways. You know, and I believe a lot of it is through our moral obligation to deal with this and our failure to deal with this problem. We've allowed this to happen. And my argument is that the only way Israel is able to get away with this is through all the funding it receives from Western governments. This is what your politicians in your country are funding. Well, Israel's a welfare state. And if they're going to fund this, then what do you think they have planned for you?
And as Brett talked about, the real concern here for Israel is that Iran is getting closer and closer to their development of a nuclear weapon. International watchdogs have indicated that Iranian nuclear facilities are enriching uranium closer to weapons-grade material, and this gives them a much shorter breakout time to produce a nuclear bomb.
I have one word: don't.
What is your message to Hezbollah and its backer, Iran?
Don't. Don't.
And what's the message to Iran?
Don't.
Israel may be now launching a limited operation into Lebanon. Are you aware of that? Are you comfortable with their plans?
I'm more aware than you might know, and I'm comfortable with them stopping.
Look, Sandra, people need to go back and listen to what Benjamin Netanyahu said just last week with the UN General Assembly. He talked about it in biblical terms when he talked about Iran, and he talked about Moses, and he talked about appeasement, and that appeasement must end. He was talking about Iran. The United States has an opportunity to really leverage this and bring some type of peace to the region, and also work in concert with other allies in the region, with the Saudis as well. But this is on Israel, and that's the reason why I'm saying we shouldn't let them fight alone, because the question is, when does it end? And that's the reason I keep going back to what Netanyahu said. He has said it repeatedly. He looks at this in biblical fashion, that this is a fight to the end, and this is a fight between good and evil, and this is a fight to the finish. And we should acknowledge that. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we talk in diplo speak, and we think, okay, well, this is going to be okay. We need to have a ceasefire. No, that's not going to happen.
The destruction of Al-Aqsa and the Third Temple. Another central theme that connects the current situation with Islamic prophecies about the end of times is the fear surrounding the future of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Many Muslims believe that Israel harbors plans to demolish Al-Aqsa and build the Third Temple on its site. The destruction of Al-Aqsa is seen as a major sign of the end times in Islam, and many view the escalating conflict, including these rocket attacks, as part of the larger struggle to protect this sacred site. Any harm to Al-Aqsa would likely lead to massive unrest in the Muslim world and could be a trigger for the final battles that are predicted in Islam. For Muslims, defending Al-Aqsa is not just a political or nationalist duty. It is a religious obligation that is tied to the preservation of one of Islam's most sacred sites. The recent rocket attacks on Israel may seem like just another chapter in the ongoing conflict between Israel and its neighbors, but for many Muslims, they are part of a much larger narrative that ties into the prophecies about the end of times, the importance of Jerusalem, the prophecies about the Dajjal and the Mahdi, and the looming threat to Al-Aqsa Mosque. All make these events significant from an Islamic perspective.
This is actually going to be a fight to the finish between good and evil.
We are looking at pictures right now. We are looking at pictures of Tel Aviv, what you're describing.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh.
Oh, God. Okay, guys, we got to get off the roof. These are coming down right next to us here.
Please do, Jim. Please do.
They're coming down. One just about. We got to go inside.
The IDF intercepted most of these missiles, but some have landed in central and southern Israel. Dramatic scenes playing out across the skies tonight.
This is a population of children just going and slaughtering them. It's a genocide. It's not a war. They just go in and randomly kill, rape, pillage and plunder. And I've found with Israel, all of the accusations they put against Hamas, with Israel, every accusation is a confession. This is what they do to the Palestinian people. And that's what I witnessed firsthand. And I didn't even want to leave. There was one girl, little girl, I'd built a schoolroom for these people. And when I was leaving, went to say goodbye, and she's going, Max, I can fit in your suitcase. You know, and I'm going, yeah, I know you can, and I would love to take you with me. And I promised her that I would come back to see her. And I've tried to get back there for years. That was 2012 I went in there. It's now 12 years later, and I still haven't been able to get back in. And all those people dropped out of contact over the last little while, and now I've got one friend that I know is still alive left in Gaza. And it's an incredibly important issue. And total respect for you, Patrick, because you are one of the only other podcasters that I heard out there through this last incursion who's been speaking out about what's going on in Gaza, because it is so important. And
what do you think about, Max, that calling for us, did you ever think you would see the day that calling for a ceasefire became a controversial statement?
Exactly.
Exactly. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm calling for a ceasefire, and I'm pointing out the genocide that Israel is carrying out in Gaza over the last few weeks, and I got banned from Twitter for violent hate speech, right, for calling for an end to genocide and a ceasefire. It's all backwards. It's completely backwards. And who would have thought that it would have come to this? But the thing is, I mean, Israel's destroyed itself through this. Israel will not survive what it's just done in Gaza. It can't play the anti-Semitic card or the Holocaust card anymore, because look what it's just done to 2.3 million unarmed civilians in Gaza, mainly women and children. And the numbers that they're giving us of the figures that are dead, I think it's far more than that. So many people buried in rubble, and some of the stories that I've got here. I mean, I'll put some incredibly disturbing stuff on some of my podcasts, but I'm not even putting a lot of the main stuff on there because it's just too disturbing, you know. And this is what we're putting up with, and this is what we're doing. This is what our politicians are funding. It's so important.
So for decades, this has been swept under the rug.
Absolutely.
For decades, and humanity's been the West has been sweeping under the rug. But I don't think. Do you think they can? Do you think things will be the same now?
No, they can't be. They can't be. I mean, they're going to try. The media will tell you it's the same. The media, but don't listen to the media. The people on the ground in droves are pulling away from Israel. I mean, Israel is losing all public support. It's losing the information war. It's lost in so many ways. So I don't think it will survive. I don't think it will recover from this. And I think, you know, what people are seeing is it's waking them up. It's a great opportunity for us to grow up and stand up and call this, because we could stop this anytime we want as soon as we step into our own power and call these parasites we have masquerading as politicians out for what they are. And I think it's important. Absolutely, man. It's one of the most important issues we face in the world today, which is why I've put so much focus on it over the last 3 months. I mean, I've been outraged at what I've been seeing, and no one's been talking about it. And this is a genocide happening in 4K, live streamed. You know, we've got to heal this situation. So I've been putting a lot of focus on it. And yeah, I don't think the paradigm's going to stay the same. I think it's going to shift. I think it's really served to wake a lot of people up to just how corrupt this system is.
Because you were horrified. You know, any normal person would be horrified before with what we've seen 10, 15 years ago. This is on a whole nother level.
Whole nother level. Even with what they did in 2014.
I can't even muster the words to really, at this point, Max, it's very difficult even to kind of put a synopsis on it.
Well, what they did in 2014 was bad enough, but this is just open slather. They've just gone in there. They're decimating the entire country from north to south, bombing churches, mosques, marketplaces, schools, suburban homes, everything they can, telling people to go to safe areas and then bombing them on the way to the safe areas and then bombing the safe areas, bombing refugee homes. They've pushed everybody down into Al-Sawar at the moment, which is basically a rubbish tip. And it's the size of Heathrow Airport. You've got 2.3 million people crammed in there, or less than that now. They've probably killed, a third of them now, all just crammed into this area. And they keep telling them to go over here and go over there and go over there to these safe zones, and then they bomb them. We're telling them to leave, but they've got all the borders closed, so they can't leave. So they're giving all this propaganda to the West, saying we're trying to help them, we're sending in aid supplies, and also they're not sending in any aid trucks. So Hamas is hijacking all the aid trucks. But in the same breath, I'll tell you they've sent in 10,000 aid trucks. And Hamas is hijacking, 10,000 aid trucks? Well, they're hiding them in tunnels. There's a lot of aid trucks, you know. It's ridiculous. Some of the stuff they're saying is ridiculous. It's obviously ridiculous. It's obviously a lie. And so many people are seeing it now. So I think the paradigm's going to shift. I think people are going to realise, I mean, you put all this on top of COVID, and now they've got disease X that they're already creating a vaccine for, but they don't even know what the disease is yet. I mean, you can't make this shit up. It's gone from the sublime to the ridiculous, and even the most programmed and the most asleep are sort of looking at this going, hang on a minute. This doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think it's shifting the paradigm. And, you know, and we've got the Palestinian people to thank for that, you know, the sacrifice that they've made. And we can't let that go unnoticed, and we can't let this just go by the wayside. We've got to focus on this issue, and we've got to see how it applies to the world we live in, how it applies to our own governments, and how we can change things.
Yeah, Max don't know where to start, where to end on this issue. Unbelievable. We're just all praying that the killing stops first and foremost, and then we can sort the rest out.
Well, they don't intend it to. They intend to exterminate them all and repopulate. There was even one woman who's a settler, the head of the settler thing. She's saying we need to eradicate and erase all of Gaza so the settlers can see the sea, because it's a romantic thing to want to do. It's bizarre, the mentality, you know.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. Look. This is a biblical, world-changing, paradigm-shifting event.
It is, but we've got it. We've got this, man. We've got it. Like with everything that's happening, even the positive energy here and the whole shift of everything. Like I was saying in my talk, if we just decide to use this as an opportunity to grow up, then we got this. We got it. We can move this into the world that we want. While they're trying to lock us down into slavery, it's becoming so obvious that all we have to do is say no and communicate and link with each other. I said back in 2008, the most important thing you can do is get back in touch with your life skills and put common unity back into the word community. We stand together as one force. They've got nothing they can do about it, you know. So, and I think it's coming to that. And I think people are seeing their own power, and we got this. You know, we're birthing a new world, and birth is always a painful process. That's just the way it is. But we're birthing that new world now, and we can do it. We'll get through this.